Welcome back, Tyrants. I hope everyone's been doing well. Today we're going to start a new series on the channel, one that I'm going to be calling my favorite moments of One Piece. And the first favorite moment we're going to talk about is the reveal of Trafalgar D water law as a Shichibukai. Now before we get too far into the moment, I want to go ahead and step back a little bit and just talk about Law's character himself. He is another one of my favorite characters, not the top, but probably top 5 to be honest. Ever since I saw him in Sabaody, I've loved everything about his character. His power was instantly my favorite. I liked it more than any other supernova. His personality was something dark and mysterious, so it kind of grabbed my attention a lot more than anybody else's did. And the more we learned about him, the more it seemed like there was always something else to his character. You know, he wasn't just a pirate going after One Piece. He kind of has his own goals and ambitions, things he wants to work for that extend past just the normal route that some of the supernovas were taking. And as we know later down the road, we found out that he's a carrier of the D. You know, he's got ambition to fight for Corazon, get that revenge. He wants to know what the Will of D is about, and he kind of has this understanding that the Will of D always causes a storm. And on a lighter side of things, his interactions with the crew in itself are amazing. You have this character who, in a similar vein to Robin, but he's, I think, far more serious, where his interactions are played up for laughs, where it's like, you know, he's saying something serious, he's doing something serious, and someone on the crew, just name anybody, they're off doing something, they're making fun of him, they're completely ignoring him, just things he's not used to in his own crew and just probably in the world in general. The Straw Hat crew, no one's used to them, so having his stoic kind of stature mixed with the group is always hilarious. And of the supernovas, his character outside of Luffy and Zoro is probably the most fleshed out. He's gotten a lot of screen time. He's practically an honorary Straw Hat now. He's always high in the character polls. He's become a face character of the series. A lot of people like seeing Law, and I'm one of them. So let's get into the moment. And the moment I'm talking about that occurs in chapter 659 to 660, so it's kind of like a span of these two chapters. So at the very end of 659, we get the reveal. We get that Law is here on Punk Hazard. He's become Shichibukai. His bounty is increased to 440. So we kind of get this information dump on Law at the very end of the chapter. And then in 660, we get a little more about what he's been doing. Now, the reason this stands out as a favorite moment to me is that it's Law's reintroduction into the story. So this is after time skip. So this is after, you know, waiting this long period of time in real time between the Marineford War happening, and then, you know, you have time skip, you have Fishman Island, and you have the build up to this arc. So it's been a little bit since we've seen Law. We haven't seen him since he helped Luffy on Amazon Lily, and then that was it. So we're seeing him again for the first time, and we see he's come up. You know, he's been doing some things over the time skip as far as making a name for himself. And we have Law being his cool self throughout the chapter. You know, he's just talking casually to these Marines who are pretty much ready to capture him, and he's not worried at all. You know, he's casually chatting with Smoker, trying to figure out why he's here, even though he shouldn't be here himself. It's amusing and cool at the same time, just because of the character that Law is. And so after the kids and the Straw Hats kind of pop up surprisingly and then leave, we get the display of Law's new powers. And when I say new, I just mean that things we haven't seen before or things that have seemingly increased. Because we see him throughout a room and it's massive. When we saw it on Sabaody, it had a large space. You know, you could put a pacifist in there, you could get a group of Marines in there, but at this point he's encapsulating battleships, you know, pieces of mountain. He's got giant range on his room now. And so he throws out his room and he's doing all kinds of new things. You know, he does shambles with the Straw Hat crew's hearts. You know, we haven't seen that before. he does scan, which it's such a simple move, but it looks so cool. Where he just like runs his sword across the room, and then he just has this ability to take whatever he's looking for and just move it. And I still don't know how that works, but it looks so cool. And Law has a lot of good moments in this arc. They don't just stick to this chunk of chapters, but this is where a good majority of things lie as far as getting you back into his character. Of course, there's chapter 690 where he slashes through Virgo and the mountain, which is a huge feat. Again, his power is on an entirely different level. And I grouped that moment with this just because this is where the crux of it lies. This is where all the big stuff lies. And then you have that moment there that also stands out. But the thing that really gets to me is the end of chapter 660, where you have him doing tact, and he just looks cool. His eyes are shaded. You know, he's got this dark, ominous aura around him, and then he just lifts up the battleship. And with that comes water. With that comes like pieces of rock and earth, like the mountain is lifting up. And you just have this panel where he's standing there, and just one finger up, and he's pretty much rearranging this entire area. And you just have the Marines looking up. You have Tashigi, you have Smoker just being like, yeah, this guy's a problem. This guy is a serious problem. And seeing this for the first time, you know, when you were getting back into Law's character, we're like, this guy powered up a lot. This guy's way different than what we saw in Sabonian, because he's doing things like this. You know, didn't think this was possible. When you think about his power and how much of it we saw beforehand, something like this didn't seem exactly feasible. But seeing it now, we're like, has he always been able to do this? Did he train to get this good? Where did this come from? This is also around the time where we get introduced to the fact that Law has hockey, and he's able to use that, and he's able to kind of sense other hockey. With that, we have the fight versus Tashigi and the fight versus Smoker, in which Tashigi he takes out easily because her hockey is no match. She can't compare at all to what Law is doing. And then we have Smoker. Now, Smoker kind of tells everyone else to stay back. They can't handle this dude. But it's kind of funny because Smoker himself has a lot of difficulty and ultimately ends up losing to Law. So it's funny that he tells them, you know, you guys stay back, you know, you can't do anything. And then he himself gets beat. But it's another example of hockey in which Law is able to fight this dude, where from all the past fights we've seen, whenever Luffy goes up against this guy, he loses immediately because he doesn't have hockey. Can't do anything to him. And then we see Law make quick work of him. I guess I won't say quick. He makes work of him. And when you look at kind of the chapters in sequence like 59, 60, 61, as they kind of bring Law back into the story, it feels like he's having his own post timeskip introduction. So like how all the Straw Hats got their kind of, oh, this is who they are now, this is what they can do now in Fishman Island, as far as like what their powers were, how they've grown as individuals over the time skip. We kind of get that for Law, which is somewhat unusual for a non-main character. You really don't see a lot of other characters getting so much exposure as to what they can do. Like when Kid comes back, we just know he has a metal arm now. And we hear tales of things he's done, but we haven't really seen anything. And that's pretty much for most of the Supernova. We don't really get introductions and explanations as to how much they've grown. We kind of just hear excerpts. And that even goes for characters we've seen more of, like Beige. We don't really see, as far as the introduction goes, we don't really see what he's done. We just know that, okay, so now he's part of the Big Mom Pirates, and he's a security officer. At the end, you know, we see Big Father, but we kind of get a glimpse of that, and it's not known whether he could have done it before, whether he just learned that. It's kind of just an ability he has. And it doesn't really do much because we're facing Big Mom here, but it's less of a fleshing out and more of just a, oh, we can do this. And something else I want to point out that is less impactful than the rest of the things, but still awesome in my opinion, is the new outfit. So he's got like the new dope hat, he's got the long trench coat with his Jolly Roger on it, his overall design just looks amazing. And he's always been a character that's had like a cool design to him, just because of like the dark aura around him and his style. It's always carried himself in a way that this character's cool. But now with the new drip, dude looks way too cool. And I also think this moment serves as kind of foreshadowing, but not foreshadowing in a way in which we're going to see a lot more of this character. You're seeing a lot of him now because he's going to be relevant to the story for a little while. And that's, I think, why we get so much of Law. And like I said, I'm not complaining about how much Law we get. Anytime we get Law, I'm happy. So this series of chapters, this series of panels, really excited me when I first got to read them, because I was like, yes, we're getting more of Law. We're getting a lot more of Law. And he's just awesome. Alright, that about sums it up for this moment. Again, Law's one of my favorite characters, so seeing a reveal like this is just perfect. Loved every part of it. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these fave moments, because I like talking about some of the specific moments rather than the entirety of the chapter they came from. So you'll probably be seeing a lot more of these in mixture with some of the other videos. Again, go ahead and like, dislike, comment, tell me how you feel about it, and you guys have a great day. Bye.